You may know from experience that being in nature feels therapeutic. But did you know that there's actual scientific evidence that spending time in nature can affect you at a cellular level by helping your immune system and your nervous system? Welcome to Health, Harmony, and Happiness with Kathy. I'm your host, Kathy Stricker. I'm a wife to a law enforcement officer and mama to 3 lively littles. I'm a business owner, yoga teacher, health coach, and wellness and life enthusiast. And what I really like doing is connecting others like you with resources that could bring you health, harmony, and happiness on your life journey. These 3 elements are a result of that inner light that flows naturally through you and brings contentment. They happen when you seek to live mindfully as your best self and tune in to following this inner guidance. May this podcast serve as a nudge to discover tools that could help you on your path towards more conscious living. Hey friends, welcome to episode 37. We're talking about forest bathing or nature therapy today, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to my guest in just a moment. And since we're talking about nature today, I thought it would be a good time for me to tell you or remind you about a free guided meditation that I have available for you to download. I call it the Mountain Meditation, and it allows you to connect with your breath and shift your perspective towards one of harmony when you are faced with a stressful situation. You can download it at cairnyogawellness.com/mountain meditation. I'll also link to this in the show notes page. But it may be a good one to load onto your phone and take with you out on a nature walk. Find a good place to pause in nature and then listen to the guided meditation. Or just listen at your desk when you need a break from work. Whatever floats your boat. The other thing I want to share with you is that I'm going to be taking a short break from producing episodes of the podcast so I can do some self-work and planning as we navigate some transitions with our business. When I consider health, harmony, and happiness and what it looks like, part of it means honoring the times in life when very clearly God is asking us to do something or change directions in some way. And right now, that is the message that I'm getting. So I'm going to tune in and listen and go with the flow. This is part of learning to live with the cycles and seasons of life as well. But have no fret, I will be back with the podcast. And before I release the next season of the podcast, I'm looking for a group of people to join the new season launch team. As a part of this team, you'll get some thank you gifts from me that I've put together, like a list of my favorite affirmations and an exclusive guided meditation that's different than the mountain meditation, but it will help you relax and let go of stress so that you can be still. So if you want to be a part of this launch team, visit cairnyogawellness.com/launch team to join the waitlist and receive your thank you gifts. And of course, I will link to this as well as all the show notes and resources from today's episode at cairnyogawellness.com/podcast37. For episodes like this one today, check out any of the episodes from our April series all about Earth Day and connecting with your environment. If you are new here, head back and listen to those episodes. I've linked to those as well. And welcome. We're glad to have you. I hope you enjoy this show today. Taking a walk in nature is definitely not the same as taking a walk down a city street. And science has proven it. There are natural chemicals released by plants that actually have a positive impact on your body, improving things like immune function, mood states, and stress levels. And during this time when stress levels may be a bit elevated as we all navigate the changes this pandemic is bringing, reconnecting with nature intentionally could be a good treatment for coping with it all. Science tells us that cortisol levels, blood pressure, and heart rate all decrease with time spent in nature. This means that what is happening to your nervous system is that the rest and digest activity begins to kick in, so your body begins to function with healing processes, which ultimately is where you want to be living on a day-to-day basis. But many of us, unfortunately, and often because of demands we place on ourselves, live in a constant fight, flight, or freeze mode. And it's hard for our bodies to actually slow down and process life rather than react to it. Enter nature therapy, also called forest bathing or Shinrin-Yoku, as it's inspired by a Japanese practice that enhances health, wellness, and happiness, according to the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy Guides. And if you ask me, it kind of sounds vaguely familiar to what we're doing here on this podcast. So today I'm talking with nature therapy guide Crystal Berkenes, who is also a music therapist. Stay tuned for later in the show because we get a beautiful treat when she brings some of her musical skills into the episode and tells us how she incorporates music therapy into nature therapy. I'm talking with Crystal Berkenes today, and we are talking forest therapy and music therapy, and maybe a combination of both. Who knows? Crystal, how are you today?
I am well. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful for this opportunity and happy to be connecting with you and our listeners today.
I know. I'm really excited to bring you to everybody, and just see what happens with this. Forest bathing has been something that has been brought to my attention earlier in the year, and I find it really fascinating and I want to know more. And so I'm hoping that you'll be able to enlighten us today, because this is a fantastic time to be exploring this topic when lots of people are staying home more, obviously, and it's getting to be spring, it's getting to be warm, so maybe more and more people are also going to be going outside. But if we're not interacting in social gatherings anymore, then at least for the time being, then maybe it's time to go out and explore nature, right?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. It's a wonderful time to be reconnecting and seeing how this can help benefit everyone and as well as our world at this time.
Yeah. So, Crystal, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? How you came upon forest therapy, and just a little bit of an elevator speech about yourself.
Sure. I am a board certified music therapist, and I am a certified guide with the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy Guides and Programs, which was started by Amos Clifford. In my personal life, I'm a wife, a mother of two, and I consider myself the type of person that very creative, free spirit, and also very giving and wanting to help in a lot of ways. In music therapy, I work primarily in hospice, and I have come to realize that I need to be able to take time to slow down and reconnect to help refill my cup so that I can continue to feel that I'm my best self and helping others.
Absolutely. I can imagine that doing music therapy in a hospice setting can be a little bit draining at times and can definitely pull from your energy. So you need something to fill your cup again, like you said, to give back to yourself and to re-energize you.
Right. And it can be truly beautiful. I mean, the moments are beyond words and beyond description. That's why I love music, because you don't have to give it words. It has images and ways that people can apply it to their own experience, and it happens in the moment. It's just really beautiful that way.
What does music therapy look like?
So in my practice, one of the things we like to help give as a foundation piece is that music therapy is the use of music to reach non-music goals. So anywhere you could find a nurse, you could also find a music therapist. In a school, in a hospital, with neonatal intensive care units, or at the very end of life in hospice. There's a whole spectrum of where you could have benefits of music therapy to help support people. And that's kind of the broad scope of it. And then for myself, I'm primarily an instrumentalist. I'm also classically trained. I'm classically trained in flute, but I play piano, guitar, harp, Native American flute. I play around with instruments like banjo, ukulele, accordion. So I try to incorporate as it's meaningful to other people. And we sing, and again, we create in the moment, because those moments are precious and very, very meaningful for people in the work that I do, especially at the end of life.
How beautiful. How
It is.
Beautiful.
It's wonderful.
You're using it as a creative expression to help them with what?
So, something that one of the really powerful things that I have experienced, there are people who have suffered from a stroke and can no longer speak. I've worked with a lovely woman. She could only say two, 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 but I knew I could connect with her. I knew she understood. I knew she was trying to communicate. And we found that she could sing. She could sing just fine. So we worked through the music to not only have that expression and that shared experience, and the joy of that, but also sharing that with other people so that they could see that she was this person that could do these amazing things and still have ways that she wanted to connect with people. So,
That's beautiful. That's
yeah,
absolutely beautiful.
yeah,
I come from a musical family, and music is in my background as well. So this very much speaks to me. And I grew up with parents who sang. My mom's a church choir director. It was just a big part of who I was and who I am. I don't use it as much anymore, but everything you're saying is so familiar, and so it resonates so much with me, because it's just a powerful emotional connector.
yeah.
And it allows people to dig into areas that maybe have been covered up or maybe have been pushed down or aside.
Mm-hmm.
But it allows those feelings and those emotions and those abilities to come to the surface, right?
Mm-hmm. Of course,
And
of
I would
course.
imagine that that's what you experience when working with your patients, when working with your clients, right?
Right. And their families. I mean, it's that shared experience, and now a lot of my practice has switched to a telehealth format, but I'm still able to connect with patients and with their families. We all come into these moments together, and we'll sing a song together, we'll remember music together, we'll do relaxation with the harp, or it's this shared experience. And it also legitimately gets your brain accessing areas that maybe were tired, or, like you said, things that were pushed aside, and having that level of openness for ourselves and with one another is just really, really amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, do you ever use music therapy with the forest therapy? What is forest therapy?
Sure. So Shinrin-Yoku is where we usually start. Amos Clifford talks about how Shinrin-Yoku started in the 1980s in Japan. They were having people that were dying at an alarming rate of stress-induced disease. They were working so hard, they just were literally killing themselves. And so they, as a government, realized they needed to find a way to help support people. And they had this connection through Shinrin-Yoku in Japan, it's more designated trails where they go in and they slow down intentionally. They may spend a few hours, or they may spend a few days. And then they were looking at markers like the cortisol levels. They were looking at different markers that had indicated that they were having this relaxing experience and that their bodies were responding positively. Blood pressure and all of those different markers, that you could see a significant change. And not only that, they found that it was lasting. So Amos
Like, how long was it lasting? How long were people benefiting from
right, in
the
their
time that
study,
they spent?
Sure. In their studies, they found that the longer you were able to stay immersed, the longer that it would last. And of course, it was dependent on male, female, things like that. But on average, it would last for at least 7, maybe 14 days. And in some people, it would last even like 30 days.
That's
So,
incredible.
yeah, yeah.
From how much time were they actually spending in nature?
So I think in the cases where it was lasting of upwards of the 30 days, it was more like a 3-day immersion
Gotcha.
that they had taken out specific groups to look at this.
So basically it can last a significant amount of time. I'm going to relate this back to yoga because that's what I do. In yoga, we think of it as a daily practice because it's like you practice yoga. If you practice in the morning, you've kind of got that good feeling, that peacefulness, that the feeling about you that can sustain you, the energized calm that can sustain you for much of the day. You might start to feel like it starts to wear off though towards the end of the day, and it's like, okay, new day, I got to have a new dose of that medication, if you will, which is yoga, right? So like that's why yoga can be beneficial every day because the effects of it could last every day, but it's something that you most likely want to do every day. With this forest therapy, it's what you're telling me is that it could be that the effects of you spending some time in nature are lasting days, and it's not like
Hmm.
something that you have to
Yes,
do every day, right? Of course, if you're
right.
spending more
And
days in nature, then the effects are going to last longer, right?
correct. And also, I know that Dr. Suzanne says that she tells her kids, you don't even have to enjoy being here. Just being here, slowing down, taking that time. I mean, naturally, you do start to enjoy it. I've seen such remarkable changes and felt that even for myself personally.
Yeah. So, what do you do when you go into nature? Is there a
Sure.
specific something that you need to be doing? Do you need to be touching trees? Do you need to be physically hugging trees? How do you get that energy from nature into your
So,
body so that you
yeah,
have these benefits?
of course. This is the really neat thing. In our training, we always say that the forest is the therapist and the guide opens the doors. So we have invitation language and we invite people into different experiences. But the actuality is, it's what feels right to you in those moments. You can sing a song, you can sit quietly, you can express yourself with words or some sort of creative expression, or maybe they just want to cry and have that release. There's no one right way, and we say all is welcome. And I experienced that firsthand when I got to my guide training last year. We have an immersion of 7 days in the experiences and with the trainers. And then the program lasts for 6 months, where you continue to build all of the knowledge and information for how you can help bring people into experiences. But at my training, I had arrived in a whirlwind, and I just really was kind of just in my own space and thinking that I didn't really need to do this. I don't know why I was taking time to do this. I didn't have time.
And
And
that's when you
then
need this sort of stuff the most,
right.
isn't it? Oh gosh.
It is. And it's actually kind of like a repeated pattern for me
Oh,
when I'm like in this space of like resistance. It usually has a breaking point, and that's fine. I was able to experience firsthand. I hit that wall and they welcomed me as I was, and there was no judgment. They just brought in these invitations, and I was able to connect in my own way in that time. And it was so deeply meaningful and healing for me that I can't help but share that with others.
it's so beautiful. So beautiful. And isn't it just amazing how the universe does that? Like we think that we're at our end and then and I believe in God, and I believe in Jesus, and I believe that he'll take you to your limit and you'll go to your edge, and then relief, right? And then you feel this love, this light come in and surround you, and you're just where you need to be in the exact right moment. And that's what it sounds like it was for you.
Right, right. And it's hard for me to give myself that permission. It can be really difficult for me to slow down and do that. But I have definitely learned that once I do that, I can be so much more for others. And it's just a much healthier space for everyone. There isn't so much pressure or expectation. It's just a lot more free flowing.
Yeah. It definitely is. Have you read the book Do Less?
I've definitely heard of
Have
it.
you
I
heard of
can't
it?
say that I have. I don't know if I remember.
I'm reading it right now, and it's by Kate Northrup.
I've definitely read a book from her before, but I don't think it's that one.
Man, it's good. Like, it is for us, which it sounds like you're a lot like me. Like, we just go, go, go. But it just reminds you to that everything is cyclical and everything comes in cycles. And so if we can get on with that cyclical thinking, then life starts to flow more easily, and life starts to seem like it's not maybe a whirlwind. And it allows you to slow down and to do less. I'm still working with the book, but it's definitely a message that is well received, especially during this time when, I don't know about you, but some of the times it just feels like the days go so quickly. And you have 2 kids, you said. I don't know if you're doing schooling with them at all, but also still trying to do your own job. But my goodness, sometimes it's like, whoa, where did the day go? And what can I even say for it? Like, you're just going from one thing to the next. So forest therapy is a way then for you to immerse yourself, to slow down, and to reconnect with nature, right?
Right, right. And those invitations in the span of a walk, it could be an hour and a half, or it could be 3 hours, or it could be a full day. And through that time, you're just slowing down more and more and more. And there are invitations that are simply called a sit spot. And you go and you sit, and then after 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes maybe, people will come back together to that sharing circle that we have. We pass the sharing piece, and people will share what they noticed. And it's amazing what people will have noticed in that space. And one thing we hear time and again is that at first when you said it was going to be 20 minutes, I just didn't know what I was going to do just sitting there. But once they got there and they slowed down in that, it just goes so quickly. And the
So
things they
beautiful.
notice it's remarkable.
So beautiful. Okay, so you do this in a group. Can you do it by
Yes.
yourself, though?
You could, yeah, you definitely could. And I will say in my own practice, I have found that this is really beneficial for me. As you had mentioned, yoga. I find that I need to do this for myself. In our walk, after we have our introduction, the first thing is called it's pleasures of the senses. And so you take some moments just to slow down and tune into your senses. And we go through a guided process of tuning in and slowing down, grounding, connecting, and then we come back together into our sharing circle. So there are times that I've done this just for myself. I will find myself in a space. I'll remind myself to become aware of my breathing, to become aware of what I'm hearing, and bringing that in without judgment. What am I noticing? And taking deep breaths. And then what that energy might feel like to come into my body. What it would feel like if I imagined that my body were to grow roots, and those roots were to grow down into the ground and connect. And you bring all of that back up and then back into everyone's awareness. And then everyone can share what they're noticing.
I love it. A lot of what you just said is similar things to what I have taught, to what I do instinctively in some yoga classes when I teach community yoga classes. It's not consistent with the style of yoga that I teach on a daily basis, but I love bringing those elements in. And it kind of makes me realize that it's because I love that connection with nature. And I love bringing those senses into the awareness, into the forefront of someone's mind, because it's hard to do that on your own sometimes. Would you agree?
Yes, yes. Your monkey mind makes a lot of
Yeah.
noise, and you don't take that opportunity to tune into those things. What does it feel like? And it has a strong connection with your body and what that feels like. What does it smell like, taste like? What are you experiencing in these moments? It's hard to tell ourselves to do that.
Right. It is. It is. But it's such a good mindfulness practice. It
Yep.
definitely is. So if you were to do a forest therapy session, you're most likely going to be with a group of people, a smaller group of people. Is that correct? And then you're going to go on a
Usually,
walk.
yep.
You usually take them on a walk. Um,
Hmm.
you do the sensory thing where you become aware of your senses. And then you come back together into a sharing circle. Is that right?
Yep.
And what else
And
does it
then,
consist of?
sure. From there, we do another invitation that's standard each time. It's called What's in Motion. Again, you're inviting everyone to come on a slow walk and notice what's in motion. This is where I incorporate a little bit of music therapy. I'm not sure how the sound will come through on here,
Okay.
but I have earth bells. We know that at this time, people's minds still might be wandering, and to recognize that again without judgment. But if you notice that your mind is starting to wander from what's in motion, then you'll hear a sound. So sometimes that sound will be earth bells. Something simple like that. I have one more here that sometimes I'll use. I hate to quiet them, but
It has a turtle on it. I love
yes,
it. I'm a
it's my
turtle
Native
nut.
American. I am too.
And for
Yay.
some reason, the Native American flute really speaks to me. And it always has, and I don't ever know why, but I don't know if it's some sort of past life thing or something, but I
Right.
just love the sound of it. So I'm really excited that you're bringing this in.
So, yeah, I love the Native American flute. In music therapy, I've used this in amazing situations. I had a gentleman, he was definitely in a whirlwind type of situation, shutting everyone out, very aggressive, not expressive. And come to find out, he had a native background. And I gave him a buffalo drum and I had the Native American flute, and he started chanting and playing the drum and had the Native American flute to help support that expression. So, yes,
That
amazing,
is
wonderful
cool.
things can happen. So sometimes for what's in motion, I might have a Native American flute. Again, inviting people to notice what's in motion. And if you recognize that your mind is starting to wander, letting that music bring you back into noticing what's in motion.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
I love it. I'm ready to
Yes.
come see you right now.
Yay. And I will meet you where you are, and we can and use these just amazing gifts that we have to bring people into those moments and let them, people can have the experience that they have. And again, when we come back into our sharing circle after What's in Motion, we're asking people to share, what are you noticing? It's very simple in that, and it's very open. Nothing is considered incorrect or wrong. Or one other piece that we encourage people is to share with an open heart and to listen with an open heart. So don't try to think of what you're going to say or the right thing to share, but truly be in those moments with people when they are sharing, listening with an open heart. And then when it comes to your time, to know that what you have to share in those moments is exactly what is needed.
I love it. I love it. That's kind of how I try to live my life, is that everything has its purpose. Everything has its season and its time, right? And sometimes we get so wrapped up in the world and in busyness that we don't need to be doing, which the world has definitely told us, y'all are being too busy right now, so you need to stop. We're being that's being shoved in our faces right now. But during normal times, even, it's good to have that reminder to come back to that present moment. I get wrapped up in the busyness, I know, as much as I try not to. I'm sure my listeners do as well. And so to have a tool that can bring you back and to bring you into connection with nature, with the unique creativity that was placed on this planet for us to enjoy and for us to take advantage of, is just a beautiful thing, right?
Right. There's just a couple more things I feel I should make sure to include for our listeners' sake of understanding what to expect on forest. If you go into a nature and forest walk, those invitations that I mentioned, they could be any number of things. Again, they're invitations. And people can engage in those in any way that feels right to them. It might be a mirroring, something that you would go and mirror different beings, or you might work with a partner and guide them into things. There's one that I created called Gifts of the Forest, and one person would go out and find something that they consider a gift and bring that back and give it to the other person. And it's beautiful what people share in those moments together with one another, and what you learn by just looking and noticing. And then at the very end, we all come together in a tea ceremony. One part of our training is researching natural plants that grow in the areas and also learning what can be safely foraged. We talk about wild tending, in that there's a reciprocal relationship between us and nature, that if we care for and tend for nature, it will care for and tend for us in return. And so we have that relationship. So we may incorporate something like, this time of year, I'm noticing the raspberry bushes are starting to come through, and their leaves, we know how to identify them. In our training, we've done a lot of drawing, which is a really good way to slow down and reconnect with nature and notice the details. It's a good way to try and not get stuck in your head too, because I know as myself, I wanted to try and get it right. And the less I would hold on to that, the more that I would let go of that expectation, the more the beauty would just emerge. And giving yourself that time is wonderful. So say we would have raspberry. We talk about the benefits, how it can support women's health. It can support detoxification in your body. It has a taste that's a bit like a green tea, and you can harvest it throughout the year. You just want to make sure that you've complied with the grounds of where you're at, and you know what you're harvesting. And then we share in that experience around the tea. We have 1 cup for the forest, where we pass around the cup and everyone can hold that in a way that's meaningful to them. And then we return that to the forest. and then everyone shares in tea together. This is another element that Amos Clifford had been inspired by Shinrin-Yoku. When they are out, tea is just a part of ceremony for them. And so he found a way to meaningfully incorporate it into our sequence so that we would have that sharing and also coming back into the awareness. You've been in this deeply meditative, calm state, and then you're going to all of a sudden go back to driving your car.
Right.
I want to make sure that we're talking, we're, getting everybody thinking again and maybe laughing, sharing a poem. I've got John Muir, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau. There's just so many different passages that you can share with people to help bring them back into their mind and into that time so that they can go out and about.
It sounds like an amazing session. So how long does one session usually take if you were to lead a guided therapy session?
So I usually plan on at least 2 hours. You can have experiences in maybe an hour and a half, or again, 3 hours is a really good space. 2 hours to be a reasonable space. It's kind of hard for people to give themselves that much time. At first, it sounds like it's going to be a lot, but once you give yourself that space and time, you'll find that it was really well worth it, and it goes by quickly. And you'll probably find that you're wanting to keep that practice, do that again and again. Jester Park has worked with us, and we have had walks on the schedule. So they have various ANFT guides that were scheduled to lead walks every week throughout the seasons. Those have been either canceled or postponed, but they had put those out in their newsletter. So if you follow those, or if you want to contact somebody locally to find out when they are planning to lead walks. And I also know that at this time, there are people that are doing this virtually. I've navigated that some. And willing to continue to do so if that's something that we need to continue to look at for the future, and then go from there.
Very cool. Well, I would love to have you down here sometime to lead a walk. We're right next to Lake Red Rock. We've got lots of great parks and trails. But if someone's listening to this and they're in another part of the country, what do they need to look for in their own area to find some sort of guide to take them on a nature walk potentially?
Right. So you can search the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy Guides and Programs, or ANFT, and they have a really nice website where they have the guides that are listed in your area. And some guides have their own websites and ability to search for when their next walk is happening.
Sure. How did you come across this or discover this as a practice?
So I had been starting to hear of Shinrin-Yoku and forest bathing, I think initially in some readings like Spirituality and Health magazine, and then also I'm connected with Prairie Woods Retreat Center in the Hiawatha area, Cedar Rapids area, and they were hosting, actually backing up, oh, no, that's right. Because Dr. Suzanne Bartlett Hackenmiller was leading full day as well as partial day programs there. And then she began to partner with Polk County Conservation and led some walks in the Des Moines area. And so I was able to connect there. And then I went for a full day at Prairie Woods. And then I just realized I really wanted to do this more as a deep immersion. And they have, through the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy, they do have immersion experiences where you can spend 7 days doing this with guides in a certain area. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about Dr. Suzanne Bartlett Hackenmiller, but can you tell listeners who she is?
I'll do my best. I think she's wonderful. She's
You know
wonderful.
her, and she's the one who
I
connected us when I reached out to her.
Yes.
So I want you to tell people who they are and how, like, she's got a book about this stuff. So
She does.
go for
Amazing
it.
book. And she's wonderful. I feel really, really privileged. Our lives have gone in circles. She actually was the doctor that delivered both of my daughters. And I've just always been very inspired by her as a person. And then knowing that she is the medical director for the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy Guides and Programs.
Yeah.
She's done amazing, amazing work in connection with them, and also in other programs too that are encouraging nature as a prescription. I mean, she literally, as a functional medicine doctor to me, wrote me a prescription so that I would decrease my hours and spend time in nature. I still have this prescription saved. It has meant the world to me. It has helped me to reconnect with that vitality and just feel like I can take time for myself and then thereby be more beneficial to everyone.
Such an amazing approach, to have
She's
a
amazing.
medical doctor who is
Yes.
looking at these other therapies and other ways to begin to instill health in people's lives and to encourage others. You got a prescription from a doctor that said spend time in nature,
Yes, it was very specific
basically.
too because she knows me. Like
Oh my
it was
goodness.
like at least and
Oh
that I
my
had to,
goodness.
and it made me take it seriously. It really did. Yeah, she's been wonderful. And that's just the very, very tip of the iceberg. I mean, she has so many areas that she is helping so many people.
Yeah, so she wrote a book on forest bathing, and she's
Hmm.
from Iowa, and she
Correct.
practices
Yep,
medicine here, right?
that's
In
correct.
Iowa.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's just kind of cool that something like that comes out of Iowa. I mean, we have obviously great nature, um, escapes, I like to call them. Um,
yes.
so lots of opportunity here, but it's a pretty powerful thing. And I'm really glad that you were able to come on today and share all of this. Is there anything else that listeners need to know? I know. How can they get a hold of you, or how can they go on a walk with you if they want to? I mean, I know you said through Jester Park. Do you have any idea when those will resume?
I'm not sure. I have set up to meet with her again. I think it's next week. We're gonna have another conversation just to kind of regroup what that might start to look like in the future. But if you want to reach out to me directly, you can contact me through Facebook. My name again is Crystal Berkenes, and that will probably be in
Yep, I will
the
include it all in the show
information.
notes. Yep.
Yeah. So you can reach out to me that way, and then I have to admit I'm not on social media regularly. That's a part of my own practice is that I'm not fully immersed in that. So if I don't get to you right away, please know that I will. I also have email address you can reach me at, which will probably be included in the
Yep.
program notes also. So
Yes, I will include all of the links to get a hold of Crystal and to just do a little bit more with looking through the Association of Forest Therapy and Guides. I'll include those links on the in the show notes page as well. Anything else that we might think is helpful, we will throw up on that show notes page. And we don't really know what it looks like in a pandemic, do we?
we just kind of take it for what it
I
unfolds, I guess.
know. I
It's
know.
Yeah, it's definitely been different. I know people are trying different practices and staying connected. I do see lots of information, even coming from Dr. Suzanne Bartlett, Hackenmiller, that it is so important for people to continue to stay engaged with nature. It helps our bodies in so many ways, and so
And there are medical benefits from being in nature, just like you said at the beginning of the program. Like it is physically changing the way our bodies um, live at a cellular level. And
right.
that's part of one of the biggest benefits of doing this.
Right.
And I guess one more question, and I think we may have touched on this before already, but is it just the practice of walking in nature, being in nature, touching if you feel called to do so, and taking it in with your senses?
Right. I think definitely that space and grace that you give to yourself to slow down into those moments in nature, um, it takes practice and it takes giving yourself permission. But I don't think that there's like any specific way that it has to be done. That's the beauty of the invitations that
I
people
love it.
can, yeah, come into the experience that's meaningful for them in those moments.
Exactly. That's what I wanted you to tell. It's just kind of it's your intuition will guide you, and it's what you feel called to do and how to interact with nature when you're in that moment, right?
Right, right. Of
Very
course.
good. All right, just a couple more questions before we wrap up the conversation today. How does everything that you're doing with music therapy and helping others in that capacity, as well as with nature and forest therapy, how does that all cultivate health, harmony, and happiness in your own life?
I think it's been a really great opportunity for me to reflect personally about slowing down and how I can just take more pressure, I think, away from myself and to allow, whether it be music or whether it be time in nature and connection with the forest or nature in that respect, that it's a way that is something beyond me. It's the practice of doing it that just helps me experience something that's beyond words. In music, you can't always put things into words, but you can experience that. You can slow down into that, or you can speed up if that's what you feel compelled to do in those moments. It gets me out of my head and thinking of the shoulds and the, expectations. It helps just really recenter on something outside of myself that is yet fully within myself.
It completely makes sense to me. You're feeling it in you, and it helps you connect everything in life because it helps you feel whole and complete. Is that right?
I think that's part of it. And there's just so much of it that I really can't put into words, or like we were talking about earlier with a prescription.
Right.
Sometimes my brain likes things like that, but the honesty of it is that it is something that I can't necessarily identify and put in a box, and therefore it's wondrous in that way.
And it brings your family together. It gives you something that you can do with your family as well.
Yeah.
It just is connection all around, whether it's to nature or your family or yourself or your community. It
Right.
connects all of those things. How beautiful.
Truly, truly.
Okay, the last question that I want to ask you, and you've kind of already answered this and hit on this in some of your other answers to the questions, is how are you taking time in life to be more mindful right now? And this can be as serious or as fun as you want it to be. It can be off the cuff. It can be something that is well thought out, whatever resonates most with you.
Yeah, I think, there's so much noise and chaos in our world right now. And we are incorporated in and through that. And there are times that I really resist and I hold on. And I find that when I can tune in to different things, sometimes it's playing, or it's running, or sometimes it's calming down with music, or just laying on the ground outside. I mean, I have a whole spectrum of things. I think part of it is just allowing myself to do what I feel in those moments, and then not judge myself or feel like other people are judging, being patient with myself for wherever I might be, and just allowing allowing that as best as I can. I know sometimes it's really, really hard because I want to figure out how to do it the right way. And I want to help people have the best outcomes. And I am not the one that makes that judgment. Thank God.
Yeah.
It's too much pressure.
Right.
But sometimes in my brain, I kind of get to thinking I should do that. And the reality is if I can find ways, whether it be fun or just some sort of slow down and let go, that seems to help.
Well, it sounds like you're very connected with knowing what your body needs and what you're feeling at the time. And so using that to guide is definitely helpful with you in your mindfulness practices, whatever they may be, because you're right, it could look different on a day-to-day basis. But you have that connection and that ability to discover what your body needs the most. And not having the pressure, like you said, of trying to determine what the outcome is going to be for someone else is so critical. Because I think if you're just you and you do what you've done this entire interview and just shown your light and your gift to the world, it's beautiful, and people are going to accept that and have the best experience that they can have if they approach art. So
right. And like you said, that connection with one another, it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Crystal, for taking time today. And we'll get all of your information up on the show notes page. And have a good afternoon.
Thank you. And I hope you do as well.
I don't know about you guys, but that definitely makes me want to head to a trail and take a walk, to appreciate the beauty and life-giving benefits of nature. When you consider all that nature supports and does for us without even having a brain to think about it, it kind of provides a little bit more hope and comfort in the vast connection of all things. Something that we sometimes forget about when we spend too much time in our thinking minds. So my challenge to you this week in cultivating your own health, harmony, and happiness is to connect with nature through your own version of a nature therapy walk, or by simply heading outdoors and walking barefoot in the grass, practicing a technique called earthing. Be intentional and mindful when you do, and then share your experience in our Cultivating Health, Harmony, and Happiness community. I want to know what you did, and if you noticed any differences emotionally or mentally, or perhaps if your sleep was different on the night or nights that you practiced this nature therapy. It'll definitely be an interesting experiment to do for yourself. And just a reminder that if you want to be a part of the new season launch team, visit CairnYogaWellness.com/launch team. And as a thank you for committing to be a part of this team, you'll get some thank you gifts that I've put together to help you cultivate more health, harmony, and happiness in your own life. You can find the link to join the team and all of the show notes and resources from today's episode at CairnYogaWellness.com/podcast37. Cheers to cultivating your own version of health, harmony, and happiness in your life. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you hear, help us grow this podcast by sharing it with even just one other person. And it would mean so much to me if you would take a moment of your time to write a review. Your comments and feedback are what help me continue to bring you topics and guests that can help you and others on their journey in creating health, harmony, and happiness. Remember to head on over to CairnYogaWellness.com to get the show notes and links from today's episode. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Cairn Yoga Wellness, and to continue connecting with more resources that could help you enhance health, harmony, and happiness in your own life, subscribe to this podcast. Thanks again for listening.